Welcome to Hello Chaos, a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic minds and lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Every week, we talk to founders from different industries at various stages of all shapes and sizes. We hear the real, the raw, the unbiased founder stories. It's why our mantra is where aha meets oh shit. We drop new episodes every Sunday. Founders tune in to us for tips, insights, and strategies on growing their business or ways to be better owners and leaders, or to find a community of like-minded and mission people and no longer feel alone. HelloCast is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That is Orange Whip, WIP for work in progress. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We've designed hyperlocal media platforms to inform, inspire, and be the independent connective tissue between founders and their entrepreneurial ecosystem. Our innovative digital zines are an all-in-one content hub with fresh and engaging stories, curated calendars, and local dynamic roadmaps to help founders navigate those local ecosystems with ease. We've really done all the hard work for founders, so they only need to go to one trusted place to find the local information they need. We're in 3 South Carolina cities today, looking to expand to cities across the country because every city that has entrepreneurs and founders needs an Orange Whip. This is Jennifer Sutton. My friends and family call me JJ. I am the founder of Orange Whip and Bright Marketing, and I'll be your host today. So welcome to Hello Chaos. Well, welcome everybody. Today we have Dean Mercado. Did I pronounce that name right?
Mercado.
Mercado. I was like, Mercado, Mercado, avocado. No, I'm just kidding. Dean Mercado, founder and CEO of Online Marketing Muscle. But Dean is also a best-selling author, coach, and keynote speaker. And he is actually right in our back door. I didn't even realize that we were in the same town. So welcome to Hello Chaos.
Well, thank you, JJ. I'm so glad to be here with you.
I am so glad you're here and chatting with me all about your entrepreneurial journey, because you have been in it way longer. I've been in it about 10 plus years. I started my company in 2013.
Right.
You were what, 2004?
For this company,
For
2004.
this company, but
yes.
you go even beyond that.
I would say I was a born entrepreneur to some degree.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
start us out. Tell me about your journey. How in the world did you get started in the world of entrepreneurship?
Right. Now, I'll preface this by saying I've always kind of been an entrepreneur. I just didn't know it. You know, I was the kid out there washing the cars, mowing the lawns, doing all that stuff as a youth. Anything to make enough money to go to the movies and pay for the things that I wanted to do while I was younger. But as was common for my age group, at least, it's the programming that happens where it's like college, job, family, and that got drilled into me. I'm one of 5 brothers, so...
What order?
I'm number 4,
You're
and I was the baby for a long time until the accident happened behind me. But so I was the first to really, where my parents were like, I'm going to go to college. Okay. My other brothers all followed in dad's footsteps as electricians, and so I went through the college thing, and then I went to the master's degree thing, and then after a while I was like, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, kind of a thing. But yeah, so college was fun. And then I went into the big corporate America. I did my thing there for about a dozen years.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I had huge successes. I was getting a chance to travel a lot, spending a lot of time in different places around the world. And that was great, running multi-million-dollar projects around the world. That was all fun and great. But then came the point when I started getting toward my later 20s, toward 30, where it was like, all right, I can't possibly start a family. I can't possibly have the other things that I really want for my life and still do what I was doing.
Yeah.
And honestly, my feet were sleeping. And, you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you're wired that way, doing the same things every day as in corporate America just doesn't float very well for you.
No, your body will start reacting.
That's right. And it was. And it was starting to give me signs like crazy that I needed to change and shift gears. And I remember there was a point in time where one of my one of my guys who worked for me came up to me and basically was like, what the heck are you doing here? Why are you here? Kind of, he goes to me, he said, you're one of the two smartest people I've ever met. And my response was something along the lines, with my smart ass New York accent and stuff, was, well, then you must not get out very much, but he's like, I got the other smartest guy is my cousin. He's a business owner. You two just need to meet and figure it out. We met, we figured it out. We started a business.
Okay.
That was the first formal business. I had several things before that. Yeah. This is going back to about 2002. Okay. But sparing you all the little attempts going through college and stuff like that.
This was a real bit like you.
Yeah.
You had a partner.
So it made it seem serious.
You had a form, like an official document.
Right, exactly. Right? Exactly. We did the legal route, got the proper papers drawn up between us. But, it didn't work out so well.
What was that business in? What was it in?
It was in technology, because I came out of big corporate America. I came out of big technology, installing IT around the planet. And so I thought, hey, why not? I might as well start a business that's in the same vein. It's what I know. Only to realize I hated it. I no longer liked it at all. My feet were sleeping long enough in corporate America doing it. Why did I want to continue doing it?
Right.
So then came the soul searching to figure out, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? Right. Once again in my life. And
I'm still searching. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I spoke to my fiance at the time, who is my wife now, and it was like, look, we've got to do something different. This isn't working. Yeah. The partner, and there were two partners actually, but they weren't really ready to make the commitment I was ready to make.
Yeah.
They weren't ready to dive in head first like we talked about doing. And so those plans fell apart very quickly.
It's interesting when those things are super important, right?
Yes, very, very, very critical. Especially when you're a young guy, you're starting a new family, and it's like, not a time to play games.
Right.
So, after, my wife and I, we did some soul searching time. She was still working in a law firm in Manhattan, and that cut us a little bit of slack, and, financially. And we took about 6 months off and said, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And we did, and out of that came 3 different businesses, but most importantly, one of them was Online Marketing Muscle.
Okay.
That's the company that I run to this day today, some 20 plus years later. And so, I came out thinking that I knew all this stuff. I was so smart. I got all the education. I got my rear end kicked everywhere. Everywhere, because even though you play as an entrepreneur throughout your life, when push comes to shove and you have to get serious about it, and it's now your thing, and you've got to pay for a mortgage, and the idea of kids coming into the picture and all of that stuff, different ball game.
Or you have to pay other people. I mean,
yes.
It
becomes very real.
Very real, and very different mindset.
Right. Right.
Well, so what's been the most rewarding part, first off?
Ooh, there are so many aspects of it that I love. If you're truly wired as an entrepreneur, which I believe I am at this point in my life especially, the journey, as you call it, as I call it as well, is everything. It is all about the journey. There are upswings and downswings and turns and twists, and I would have it no other way, because it gives your life a little bit more meaning, a little more purpose, when it's like, I know if my family needs something, I go create it.
Yeah.
I don't have to sit back and hope somebody gives me permission to go do something. No, it's on me. I just go do it.
Yeah.
Right? I just go do it. And that side of being in control of my own destiny and being able to create the space for my family to flourish, it's the most rewarding thing I could ever wish on anybody. Anybody willing to take the risk.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. So, all right, I know I was going to ask you this. So, if you had to sum up your journey in one word, what would it be?
I'd say gratifying.
Oh.
And I'd say that because I had the corporate America experience, and my feet were sleeping. And whatever the reason that was is irrelevant to this point. However, I'm so grateful that I get to do what I do for who I do it with and for every single day.
Yeah.
You know, I wake up and I feel great about what I do. And even after all these years,
Yeah.
some people would be like, how could you, you're full of it. No, I'm not full of it. This is the truth. It really is that way for me, that I get to create something new every day. You know, these experiences, phenomenal.
Yeah. I love that word. Gratifying. That's a good one. I ask everybody, I've asked hundreds of entrepreneurs and founders this, and I've never gotten the same answer.
Yes.
So
yeah,
this is just adding to it, just adding to the list of everybody's journey is different, and everybody has a different experience, and also it's fun to catch them in where they are in their stage.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Too. So it's
absolutely. Being a little seasoned like I am, I guess I'm at that point in my life where now it's gratifying, where many a time it was scary as anything, and then there were times where it was phenomenal and just unbelievably, lucrative and fun. And so, again, it's a lot of this.
I call the ups and the downs, the ahas and the oh shits, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you that. So, we always talk about like, it's great to be an entrepreneur. It's great to own your own business. And then there's people that I call misconceptions or myths about owning your own business. What do you think is the biggest myth out there that you would like to debunk? Like, hey, if you want to get into this, you might have that mindset, but you might not have the right mindset to really make it successful. I mean, is there a myth out there?
I think you're saying it. I think the key right there is it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It simply is not. And while I might find it really rewarding and exciting, for others, it's the biggest stressor you could ever take on besides children. It's the biggest stressor.
Starting a business is like birthing a child and raising a child.
It's a baby.
Yeah.
You're creating a baby, and then you've got to grow it. You've got to grow it over time, and it develops into its own animal over time, and it could be very rewarding, and it could be scary as anything.
That's right.
So entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is not for everyone, and it's certainly not for the meek or the weak. So you really have to understand what you're stepping into,
right,
and be willing to do the things that most people are not willing to do.
right. And
that's the difference maker.
And I think have the stamina
Yes.
to be able to stick with it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And it's funny because when we work in corporate America, and I have that perspective because I did it for a dozen years.
I did it for 20 years, 25
Yeah,
years.
see?
So, yeah,
and sometimes I'll watch people and you'll see them bust their rear end for someone else, but then they go and try and do it for themselves, and they don't do that.
Right.
And it's like, why? You're working 80 hours a week for that guy over there, salaried. Why wouldn't you be willing to put that energy and effort in here for yourself?
Right.
It's one of those things that I can't explain.
I'm with you. I've observed the same thing, and it is mind-boggling to go this, and it might not be you're crushing it like that for 20 years,
Right.
but for the first several years, like you need to be just in it. And,
Yes.
And
I would say too, it's, and this will probably come up more and more in our conversation today. This thing we call business doesn't sit still.
No, it's
It's either
thing.
if you're not evolving, you're dying. If you're not adapting, you're dying.
Right.
Right? If you're not constantly pivoting, you're dying.
That's right.
Right?
And I don't
Simple
think
as
people,
that.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that too. Of like, it's not just about your business, your products, your service. Because you're trying to relate to a consumer. There's some
Right.
audience you're trying to relate to, and that audience is ever changing. But market demands and market fluctuations and just the economy.
Oh,
but
yes.
But then your own people, like, the ebb and flow of of the people management. So you have to adapt and pivot, and it's
Right.
a constant
Right.
It's a constant grind. I was reading something that somebody was like, what entrepreneurs I think have and founders have, that like a trait that is a common trait among us, is that grit, that gumption.
Oh,
and somebody was
yes.
saying it's passion combined with perseverance is really what grit is.
I think I'm the poster child. I have to say, yeah. And much to my wife looking at me all the time, thinking I'm out of my mind, but trusting me enough to let me do what I felt needed to be done, without damaging our relationship. Because my wife is not only my wife, but she's also my business partner.
Oh, yeah.
So
you have that.
yeah, we have that dynamic going on. So it's wonderful if you can do it. It's horrible if you can't.
That's right.
Let's just put it that way. You have to have a kind of relationship that can withstand it.
That's right.
And the kind of personalities that are flexible enough to deal with it.
You got to have that adaptability, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So what's been the most, out of your journey, and maybe it's with this company here, or maybe something in the past, but what was your biggest, oh shit moment, your biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
There were a lot of them. But, and I say that in all
I know.
reality, there are so many. But most of them were stimulated by something that was going on in my personal life.
Okay.
Because as we grow as people, as individuals, and our life changes and becomes more complex, that shift going out of corporate America and thinking that, oh, well, I was crushing it in corporate America for the company I was working for, I could just do it for myself. And no, doesn't work that way, because the things that you were doing, and they don't translate as well, because there's so much more you need to do as an entrepreneur, so much more you need to be focused on and think about. And as soon as I started getting my feet underneath me from that transition point, then came kids. And then there was that transition point where, oh my goodness, now all of a sudden I've got to navigate and juggle being all these new roles in my life, being a dad and it was just a whole different set of challenges came upon, because then you start to realize it can't be all in business. You have to find that work-life balance. You have to be there, because for me, I know growing up, if I may just digress for a second, Dad was always working. He had 5 boys. He had a lot of mouths he had to feed. So Dad, if he wasn't working his regular job, he was out doing side jobs with one of his friends at night to make extra bucks to feed us. Hence not around very much growing up. He was there, but he wasn't there, So when my wife and I got on the subject of kids, we were like, well, my one rule was, if we're going to have them, I got to be there. I'm not going to allow somebody else to raise my children. I need to be the one raising them. I need to create the kind of business that's going to be able to allow me to be that person too.
To have that freedom.
That's right.
That's right.
And so that's the one thing I could say my wife and I did really well, is we really created that lifestyle business. We created a business on our terms.
Because that's something that, and I'm sure you do this too, is, when people come to advice and ask, I always say that, know what kind of business you want to start. Is it a lifestyle business where you're doing something because you want the freedom and flexibility? That means there's going to be some limitations to it, right? Or is it, hey, we're going to do this for 5 years because we're going to exit and we're going to let it go and it's not our baby anymore. It's so we've got to not be so. We got to look at it more methodically.
Yes.
And not get so emotional around it, So
correct.
It's but the fact that a lot of people, I don't think, do that type of soul searching. Or usually it comes into a crash of maybe
absolutely.
A stumble or a failure, which I don't look at fail. I think those are just stumbles and pivots, and I think we should all look at those as that. They're not failures. They're just they're lessons that we learn from.
That's right.
But yeah, I think when I've talked to a lot of founders, when they describe those moments, it's that's kind of their big I don't know, aha, or maybe a regret of like, man, I wish I would just had those conversations with myself or with my
Yes.
partner,
Oh, yeah.
even whether it's a spouse or if it was like a business partner, of like asking those type of questions before you get into business.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of us leap too quickly
Yeah.
without putting any real
Because our
hard
feet
thought.
get sleep. Our feet,
Yes. Yeah. Put our feet to sleep, right? So yeah, I mean, there were lots of trials and tribulations that I've gone through in these decades of doing this. And the one most recent one, if I may, was
Yeah.
leaving New York.
I was going to say, so what brought you to the South?
Right. I was on a search for sanity. New York became an insane asylum. It really had, and it was, born and raised in New York. I spent 55 years there before I came down here just last year. And we were looking for somewhere better. Our kids were we had kids late, so our kids were still teens. We had to pull them out of the school system, so we became homeschooling parents also. I became a homeschooling dad, another hat I wore for 4 years.
Wow.
Because the school system up there got a little crazy. They were more concerned with things that really had nothing to do with educating my child on things they need to develop into good, responsible human beings.
Yeah.
And I wasn't having it. Neither was my wife. So we had started the homeschooling. We did great with that. And I say it jokingly and half jokingly, but it's not a joke, where my daughter in 7th grade couldn't read. And it's like, how did that slip through the cracks? She was on the honor roll.
Right.
How did that slip through the cracks?
Like the basics.
When I started homeschooling her, we recognized it immediately, and we fixed it. So we took them backwards so that they could take 20 steps forward quickly.
Yeah.
And they did. They excelled in homeschool. But then when we came down to South Carolina, we realized, we were like, well, let's go check out the school system down here.
Right.
And we did, and we were like, okay, these folks down here, they seem to have their heads screwed on right. So, our kids were willing, so they're back in the school system down here, and we're grateful for that too. So when I use the word gratifying before, there's so many levels in which I am grateful. And being able to have a business that enabled me to be able to leave New York as easily as we did, set up shop down here just as easily, and all is normal again, and better, way better. And I urge all the rest of you New Yorkers, start looking around. Start looking around.
You don't have to be there. It's good.
Right.
It's good times
Exactly.
down in the South.
Exactly.
So, if you had no fears, like your kids would be okay, your spouse would be okay. Like if you had no fears, what would you be doing? Would you be doing the same thing, or would you be doing something else?
I mean, as far as work goes, absolutely.
Okay.
I spend most of my day coaching entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So my days, I love them because every day is completely different. Because every entrepreneur, even though we're wired somewhat the same, we're all different.
We're all different. Yeah.
We're all different breeds, animals, everything. And it's very, very, very entertaining, rewarding, educational. And just, it keeps everything different and fun for me. So again, having that opportunity to do that, again, I'm so grateful for that.
Okay, so what would our listeners be surprised to learn about you? It's not on your LinkedIn or resume or whatever, but something that people would find really surprising about you.
Surprising, I'm not sure, but I mean, there's a lot of aspects about my life that most people don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably get the fact that I'm a big time family man. I just am, I'm very tight with my children. I am an avid drummer. I've been playing drums for 40 years.
There you
Things
go.
like that most people don't know. I represented the United States against Japan in baseball as a teenager.
What?
So, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to my life that most people wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And they all translate into who the man I am today. And they all play into how I'm able to do what I do today.
Yeah.
Being able to pull from all those different experiences, all those different hats that I've worn through the years. That's what empowers and enables us to be who we are and how we show up for others. So again, gratifying, grateful. I'm grateful to have had that.
Yeah.
that also enabled me to have a lot of mentors in my life, which are completely instrumental in who I am today. And those mentors started very early in my life. Outside of my parents, I'm talking about.
Right.
My parents were mentors in their own right. But outside of that, having those mentors throughout my entire life has been game-changing for me.
So how did you find your mentors?
It's, most of the time you're bumping into it. And most of the time, if your eyes are truly open, you'll see. And I think as business folks, as entrepreneurs, most times we have blinders on. And like in my early career as an entrepreneur, I thought I knew everything because I had my college degree and my master's degree. I have to know everything by now. No, I didn't know anything.
Right.
As I said before, so much so that I realized not many years after that I needed to go back and start getting mentors and get into programs that could really teach me what business was really like.
Right.
Not the fake stuff that they taught me in college.
Right.
That just didn't translate at all into what we were bumping into. Yeah, a lot of it was just about keeping my eyes open, knowing what I was looking for. And then through our networks, through our peers, being able to bump into those that I felt could help. And through my brashness, being willing to ask for what I want.
Yeah.
Go after what I want. So when as I noticed, and I do a lot of retrospection, I do a lot of really looking within to see what's going on inside here. And that's really enabled me also to understand what I needed for this next chapter of my journey.
Right.
So I've had mentors everywhere from baseball coaches to drum coaches to people I worked for in corporate America that gave me guidance and got my hot-headed attack mentality to slow down a little bit so I don't kill everyone in my path.
That's right.
And, to seeking out the help of people like Mark Victor Hansen and Robert Allen and Laura Langemeyer and T. Harv Eker and Jay Abraham, amongst many other phenomenal people that have played such a pivotal role in grooming me to become who I am today. And I'll also throw all those unsung heroes, those 1,000 authors that I've read their books. Yeah. I've read a lot, and I've learned a ton.
My bookshelf is,
Right. And all of those folks, wow, what a world we live in when you think about it that way, that we have all of that available to us, but most of us sit back and complain. We complain about everything. Everybody, it's always, woe is me.
That's right.
Just go to the library. Get a library card. You get the best education you could ever use.
Well, and I think you brought up a really good point, and I think it's something that we're talking a lot more in the entrepreneurial space, and especially in the founder space of, it's really important to do that self-reflection.
Yes.
To become really self-aware. If you want to lead, not just a business, you want to lead people, you want to attract people you've got to do that self-discovery and really
Correct.
find out your weaknesses, which to me they're your shadows. You've got these power strengths which you need to lean into, but everybody has some kind of shadow, and it's like how do you use those to your best advantage, or to express it and show up in the right way when you know what those things are. Yeah.
Well said. Fantastic.
And I think you've articulated that well. I think that to me is just such a power lesson for all of us to kind of take in, because you're never going to grow, and you're never going to help anybody else grow.
That's right. As that saying goes, your business will only grow to the degree that you do.
Yeah.
And after logging well over 10,000 hours of coaching others, it is the truth, folks. I'm telling you. I don't only learn from my own experiences. I learned from all those entrepreneurs I've been blessed to be able to work with over the years. And so you never stop growing. I'm 56 right now. I've been working hard on myself the entire time. It doesn't stop.
Right.
My bookshelves are full with all new books, because you can learn from everybody and anything.
That's right.
Where, when you start to feel like I know that already, or you're probably the one that needs to hear that lesson and message the most.
That's right.
Right? So quiet the mind a little bit. learn a little bit from what your experiences are, but learn from others. And that I credit to my 3 older brothers. I learned so much from them. Every mistake they made, I got the opportunity to watch them make it, so I didn't have to.
That's right.
You know?
I was the troublemaker in my house. I paved the way for my younger siblings.
Right.
So what's been your favorite? Like, what's your go-to? Like, if you had to look at your list, I'm even trying to think of, like, my goodness, there's been so many that I'm trying to tick through to go, what would I consider my favorite, or like my top book? Ooh.
Ooh. There's been so many through the years. I guess, again, it depends on what stage you're in.
Yeah.
In your journey.
Like Simon Sinek was great from a business, really understand your why, and then, Kotler and marketing. But I looked at Simon Sinek really as like, you also need to know your purpose.
That's right.
In life. I mean, beyond just your business, because your brand and your business brand, they might be aligned, but at some point they might need to take 2 different arcs. But if you don't know what your own purpose is,
I know it's critical. It's critical. And as far as reading books, again, it depends on which stage of my journey I was in. Where, as I was doing a lot of personal development, many years back, Wayne Dyer was very important to me. Tony Robbins was important to me. Harv Eker was important to me. There were a lot of people that were pivotal for me developing a stronger mindset and just a more balanced approach to what I was doing, But there's been so many out there that have been pivotal for me. I mean, anything Jay Abraham, to me, I'm a business strategist by nature, so anything that came out of that guy's brain, I remember when I joined this program, he sent me a box, no joke, it must have been 4 feet wide by 2 feet high, and it was full of DVDs, books, PDFs I've never seen. And for a junkie with like me, with self-development, that was the biggest gift you could have gave me.
I was that saying, like, that was probably your Christmas right there.
Oh, it was tremendous, So yeah, I would say to anybody who wants to know strategy, read everything that guy's ever done, or listen to anything he's ever said.
Yeah.
But there's been so many along the path.
So what do you think? What's the best advice that you've received from your mentors that you've really taken it to heart? Maybe you've even shared with your entrepreneur folks that you coach. Like, what's your that biggest key advice?
Ooh, again, so many.
Yeah.
And it's probably because I'm so deep in the journey at this point. Some that I remember that were very pivotal for me.
Yeah.
I remember a time where I was told I was running 3 businesses at the time, running them all horribly, by the way. One of them was Online Marketing Muscle.
Yeah.
And bottom line, my coach, she was saying to me, one thing she said was, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 2 of the businesses, and I want you to put them on the shelf for a year. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that one that you feel the best about, and we're going to turn that into what you expect and want it to be. And then after a year, if you want any of the 2 back, you can have one of them. And it was like, first off, the New York comes out in me and says, who are you to tell me what, son of a, But hey, I was paying her a lot of money, and she was where I wanted to go.
Right.
So it behooved me to listen, and I did. And the company I kept was Online Marketing Muscle. And a year later, it's like looking back, hey, which one do you want now? And it was like, none of them. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. And there were many gems like that. I mean, another big gem was never being afraid to trade up your team.
Ooh.
And that was huge for me, because I'm a people person. I'm a loyal person. When I create relationships, they usually are deep, and we work and play hard together. Yeah. And to get that clarity that I kicked and screamed and fought against, that, hey, what got you here won't get you there. You're saying you want this. Your accountant can't get you there. You're this guy can't get you there. This gal can't get you there. It's time to trade up.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, but I love that person. Well, then go have a beer with them. But tomorrow, trade them up.
Yeah.
You know, and that was really, really pivotal for me. That it was like, number one, it gave me the permission, you know, and not that you need it, but you need it.
You need it. Yeah.
Having somebody just say to you, you know what? Yeah, that's what we do. That's what everybody does. It's okay to do it. Go ahead. You want somebody who's already knows how to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As opposed to somebody who you're dragging along with you, which is what I was doing for years. Years I was doing that, and it was like painful. And, you know, that permission was huge. And there were numerous others like that, but that one really stood out.
Yeah.
You know, partially because, like I said, I fought it the way I fought it.
Yeah.
You know, only to lose that battle, and I'm grateful I did now.
That's right. Someone, I was struggling with that several years ago of like, man, I feel like I'm just dragging people, like I'm pulling.
Right.
And who was it? Steve Harvey did the best kind of analogy of, you know, you're going to have to like trade up your team, or, you know, you got to realize not everybody can be on your cart.
Right.
At the same time. And so he talked about like a horse and like almost like a horse. He goes, you're the horse, and you're pulling this cart, the wagon wheel, you know, uphill. And he said everybody on that wagon should be actually out of the cart and pushing you up the hill.
Right.
So, you know, and he was like, if you find people that are in the cart and he goes, those people need to go because they're making it harder for everybody else.
That's right.
And he goes, or you might have people that are in the cart, or they're just not pushing, you know, they're dragging their feet or whatever. They're like, they need to go because, you know, like starting a business, doing things, you are literally that horse pulling that cart and everybody along uphill needs to be everybody working on so that it's not that weight, you know, dragging you. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what I feel.
It's
like,
brilliant.
This is,
I mean, that's just brilliant.
It like was such a powerful, you know, metaphor of that's the pain I feel.
Yes, absolutely.
Time to clean house.
And it happens and shows up so easily, where all of a sudden we turn around and we realize I'm carrying all of these people in this cart. What am I doing?
Right.
You know,
and nobody's helping. And nobody is.
And they stand around and they watch you.
Right.
You know, they watch you play superhero, making everything happen. And it's, you know, it's a hard lesson to learn. And it was a painful one for me.
It is, yeah, because
you know,
it's painful of financial pain, but also relationship pain of like, oh, these are still good people. They're still decent. It just wasn't a good fit.
That's right. Until I was being told that I was being stingy by holding on to them.
Yeah.
That I was not serving them well by keeping them in places and positions that they should not be in any longer. Yeah. They need to find their journey, what's next in their path. Yeah. So instead of me being stingy and dragging them along with me, I needed to bless and release them and let them go.
That's right.
Let them go find what they're meant to go do.
That's right.
And that was, you know, that's where the big ahas came in.
Yeah.
You know, when you start to allow yourself that kind of growth.
That's
not
right.
easy.
It is not easy. It's hard to sometimes be candid with people, especially around their path and having them you know, you can only show so much and have those conversations, but at the end of the day, it's to be, as I think a mentor of mine has always said, being candid is actually being very kind.
It is. It is.
So,
absolutely. I firmly agree with that.
Yeah. I love our conversation. Okay, so here's a great question. I can't wait to hear this because I think I can't ask this on everybody, but you're more, you know, self-aware. So is there something that you really like about yourself that you wish other people recognized more?
Ooh, that's a tough one. And I say that on a lot of levels. And the biggest reason I would say that is because I'm very transparent. Mm-hmm. Being born and raised in New York, I'm very direct. Yeah. I say what I want to say. I say what needs to be said, and I do it with love. Mm-hmm. You know, as far as what people would know about me, I don't know. I don't know, because I put it all out there. I show no fear when it comes to that,
what you see is what you get, people.
that's right. It's like, hey, you're either going to love me or you're going to hate me. I'm very polarizing, and I know that, and I'm okay with that. I'm grateful that a lot of people fall on the love side,
Yeah.
but there are a few that will fall on the hate side because they may see my directness, my brashness as being braggadocious or whatever, where it's not. It's never about that.
If I had to assess just from our, 30-minute conversation here, I would say that people don't see you're as generous because of maybe that.
You might be right. You might be right. And I'm giving all day long.
Yeah.
I do what I do because it fits my core values, my personal core values. My number one core value is to love. That's why I coach, because it's me expressing love every day, all day, by giving of myself the best way I know how, because I'm able to gift to them ways to shortcut their journey to get closer to what it is they want for themselves, their families, their team, and all of that as well. I didn't start out a coach.
How did you get into coaching? Just stumble into it, or?
I basically did. I was delivering hardcore as a consultant in the early days of this, and my clients started asking me for more. Instead of just giving us the fish, Dean, can you teach us how to fish? And it was one of those kind of things. And going through all the pain I went through in the early days as an entrepreneur, it got to the point where I was like, if I could just prevent a handful of other entrepreneurs from dealing with all the crap that I dealt with in the early days, not make all of the mistakes that some were necessary, some weren't. And you can learn as much just by being told about it. Right. So then I started coaching because of that. I was like, okay, I need to help some people. I need to give people a better shot at this than what I feel I had. Right. I had to do so much deprogramming of myself because of college, because of the way things were back in those days, growing up, born in the 60s, but growing up in the 70s and 80s, the way things were, we were programmed a certain way, and it wasn't this way. And so after all that hard work on myself, I felt it was my calling. I was kind of drawn to it. I had to help others navigate this. Yeah. So that's probably, that kind of sums it up, and then I started with a buddy of mine. He had a company too, and we started co-coaching each other to practice. That's how you do it.
That's right.
Then you start realizing, you know what?
We got
kind of meant to do this.
Yeah.
This is me. It's right up my alley. It comes naturally.
Yeah.
So.
I love it.
Yeah.
So if we met a year from now for cocktails or coffee or whatever, what would we be celebrating?
Another great question. Well, like always in my business, I'm always evolving it. I'm always adapting it. You being in the marketing industry for a long time as well, you understand how things have changed.
Yeah.
And it's been drastic how things have changed. The lack of respect for the concept of marketing,
my God.
the clutter, the garbage that we see out there right now.
That's right.
So we're at that point right now with Online Marketing Muscle where we're evolving to the next level of who we need to be. Yeah. We're dumping a lot of our current offerings and we're replacing them with offerings that we feel suit us better at this point where we are, where our clients are. We're about to release in the upcoming month or two our new group coaching program called Clone the Owner Academy, which is going to be about educating those entrepreneurs, getting them really tooled up to conquer this thing we call small business a little easier. So by that time, we will have signed on, our 1,000th member by that time to that program, and they'll be rocking and rolling in that program and helping them explode their businesses. And then on the tail end of that, for my own gratification, I like to close my own chapters with a book. So The Mind Stretch, which is that book behind me that went bestseller about a dozen years ago, that was closing that chapter of my life. And then I moved on to my newer concept, which is now called Clone the Owner, which is our our newest angle at things, where we're trying to help people realize you need to get leverage on yourself and your business in order to grow it and scale it.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
That's
It's
right.
not meant to be a one-person sport. Doesn't work that way.
No.
You've got to figure out how to get leverage, and that's what that concept is about. That's what this academy we're releasing is about. That's what the new book will be about.
Okay.
So we'll be celebrating probably
Well,
its
we're going to be
release.
celebrating a lot next year. That'd be
I have
fun.
high aspirations. there's no playing down here.
This is manifestation right here.
Yes,
If
absolutely.
you say it, you've got to say it in terms of it's already happened. Like
That's right.
It's in
That's
motion.
right.
It's
That's
not a
right.
wish. It's not a want. It is what it is.
It'll happen because
It's gonna happen.
it's definitely because it's part of my journey and allowing me to close that chapter and allowing me to leave that legacy behind to give people something that that can help them in their life the way I feel I've been mentored and helped. So it would be very selfish of me to just bottle it and keep it and not share it.
Yeah.
So I don't claim to have been the mastermind or creator of anything. We all stand on the shoulders of some giant somewhere.
We're just curating it and
That's right.
and then repurposing it.
That's right.
Yeah, I think you and I are a lot alike. I'm a sponge. I love to read and absorb, but if I can't share it and use it as part of an education with other people, it's the worst thing.
Right.
And it drives me
absolutely.
crazy when other people are like they're hoarders of information.
Yes. Yes.
Stop. That's not good. That drives me crazy.
I totally get that.
That's and I love the fact that you totally on Bright marketing side. That's what we've seen in the last Chandler, probably the last half dozen years, the hatred and of marketing, but mostly it's because there's so much junk.
That's right.
Just garbage.
Right.
And I think it's also because you and I came from corporate. I came from big agency, but we were trained appropriately.
Yes.
On what the difference is in marketing and branding and advertising.
Yes.
And I feel like over the last 10, 15 years, people didn't get the same discipline. So now we've got marketing as mud. And so nobody knows what it is. People think it's either a gimmick or, anybody can do it, that there's no method to it. And it's like, oh my gosh, the methods and the thinking have not changed since the 80s and 90s.
I know.
Our tools have gotten better.
Yes.
In the advertising sense of our tools have gotten better in buying and planning and all that. But the thinking around how to frame your brand, how to frame your marketing strategy and your go-to marketing, and then how to plan for media has not changed. That's my soapbox right there of I'm on a speaking circuit of just that.
Yes. And it needs to be said.
That is why marketing as our industry is in crisis.
Yes, it is. It is in crisis mode when you got most entrepreneurs out there believing that I could just hire a sub $10 an hour VA and they'll do all my marketing for me. Right. And I learned that lesson the hard way even. I remember many years ago hiring a VA to help us out a little bit with social media, in the early days of social media.
Right.
And then I took my eye off the ball. And that was the big mistake. Was instead of being the one driving it, leading it, making sure the brand voice was heard right, I took my eye off it because there were other things that needed my attention. Right. Only to put my eye back on it and say, oh my, are you freaking kidding me? What did we do here? We just gave our brand voice over to a $10 an hour person who's never run anything in their life, let alone's never really done social media before, and we're letting them dictate who we are and how we should show up.
Right.
Wow, big mistake.
Or now we're seeing agencies being replaced by having a VA just use AI to do.
Absolutely. And even that, AI is powerful. Yeah. I love it. I use it, but you've got to know how to use it.
You gotta
now,
know
being a coach for 20
years, you need to have
years,
a filter. You need to have that filter.
As a coach for 20 years, I've learned how to prompt better. how to ask better questions, and you get better responses. So working with AI for me, it's pretty natural because I've really honed in how to ask for exactly what I want. Most people have not, and that's why they don't get what they want. First off, they don't know what they want. They're not clear. As a coach, that's one big aha right there.
It's the
Most
brand.
people don't know what they want.
They don't know, yeah.
And if you ask them, that is the one question that I ask clients that stumps most of them. I've had them cry when I ask that question. I've had them laugh with nervous laughter. I've had them sit there and ponder it for an hour. The gamut. They have a hard time answering that. And the key is, until you know what you want, you're not going to get it.
Right.
You're going to get something, but it might not be what you're thinking.
That's right.
You know, it's like being in a dinghy in the middle of the ocean, letting the waves just have its way with you, shove you around. That's what it's like.
That's right.
You know, so it's insanity when you think about it. It really is.
It really is.
And, you know, for all of you out there and listening to the little rants about the marketing before, just to tie that back in, please rethink your strategy around that. You know, think about amongst the sea of chaos out there, to use your terminology, how are you going to differentiate? How are you going to stand out? How are you going to make sure that your voice amongst all the garbage, the chaos, the clutter that's out there is going to be seen, willingly seen? How are you going to ensure that people want to hear your voice?
Right.
They don't want to hear AI again spitting out somebody else's voice.
That's right.
You know?
Being authentic, but also you're never going to be relevant and connect with your audience.
One,
if you don't know who you are and what and why you're different.
That's right. Very true.
And then we see the garbage on the other end of, like, if people have their brand, then they throw it to junk of, like, inexperienced media people. I call them media people. They're not even media people.
That's right. I agree.
They're assistants. They're juniors, and they're just going wherever the trends are. And I'm like, why are you there? Like, why are you showing up there? That is not who is your audience. Like, that's not where they consume.
Yes. And that's, you know, it comes down to, too, and some of the reasons why we dumped some of the offerings we used to offer, because we felt the integrity in some of those product lines, not from us, but across the industry.
That's right.
The integrity was no longer there.
Yeah.
So we used to do a lot of SEO years ago, but that industry and those serving it lost integrity many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll say, oh, yeah, we're going to get your rankings up. But, yeah, they're ranking you for stuff that you don't want to be ranked for, you don't care about, and it's not
just
in front of your target audience.
No, and we've seen that. We do a lot on the bright marketing side. It's amazing how, like when you said there's just junk, we're taking over contracts of, and these are significant size, like SEO companies that literally are ripping off small businesses. I mean, to me, it's like, it's just shocking, and it hurts my heart. You know, when you go, how did you not know this was, you're paying a lot of money, and it's junk, and it's, and you know, you talk to CEOs and presidents of these and they're like, well, I don't know. I get a report every month, and I'm like, they're just regurgitating your Google Analytics in a prettier little format, but they're not doing anything for you. Right. They're just cashing your check. And so, and they're like, well, what should I be doing? So we have to go through and re-educate. This is this is what SEO is. So, and this is what PPC is. And this, like, just like basic terminology, but I'm doing it at like a CEO level, which is just crazy to me, of like, you've got 200 employees or you've got 2,000 employees. Right. Why are you even in these conversations? But I get it. They've been burned. They feel like they don't get marketing. They feel like it's been a waste of time, money, and energy. And it's because they haven't had the right people. They haven't had the right partner that will walk with them. And the trust is gone. The trust is gone. And so I think you said it. We're re-educating, and it's just pains me, because I love the space. I've been doing it for 30 years, but I have never seen, like, the pendulum has swung so far to this, like, crisis mode of junkery.
Yeah. I mean, it's saying that I've been saying for 20, 25 years is marketing paves the way for an easier sale.
Oh, yeah.
It's really that simple. And with no marketing, sales becomes more difficult.
That's right.
It becomes painful. It is not the redheaded stepchild of sales.
No.
If you do marketing right, sales is easy. It's really easy.
And it's not overhead. So if you are thinking, oh, you're going to be disappointed every single time.
Right.
If you think, well, I have to hire this people and, it's just overhead. I'm like, no, it's revenue. It's a revenue driver.
Right.
That's how it should be seen.
And as a coach, I've seen through the years, it is always the first thing that gets cut.
Yes.
When things get tight, they cut the marketing budget. And I'm like, what are you doing?
That's right.
That's what's keeping us alive right now. That's what's keeping the food flowing in. What are you doing?
That's right.
Why would you do that?
And if you look at all blue chip brands and businesses that scaled and have grown, they did the opposite.
That's right. So when we had the pandemic, we saw that in a big way.
That's right.
Right? We saw everybody ratchet it down, and it's like, no, now is when everybody's silent. Ratchet up your voice.
Ratchet up. That's right.
Yeah.
We had several clients that we pivoted, went from doing more traditional, went to, digital, and kind of built up their DTC business that they didn't really have. It was 10% of their business, ended up being 80%, and it recovered them. Because they were projecting to be like 30% in the hole, and they ended up being 20% in the black. So it was, just do it right. Like, we're not spending more money. We were just reshifting the dollars in a
and that's a mindset
way.
Shift that has to happen right there. The mindset shift is going from it being an expense to it being an investment.
That's right.
And as a business owner, I don't care how much something costs me. I care how much it makes me.
Right.
End the story. It's really that simple. So if the next marketing campaign costs me $50,000 to do it, that's okay if it makes me $500,000.
Right.
I'll do that all day long.
Right.
I liken it to, I tell people all the time, and I use this analogy, I'll say, it's like if I put you in front of a soda machine of some sort, right? But this one has to do with money. And every time you put a dollar bill into that machine, it spits out 3. Would you ever leave the front of that machine?
Right.
Right? Think about it. I put in $1, it gives me 3. I'm going to stand there all day. So then why would you not do that with your business? Right. Why would you not do that with your marketing?
That's right. And if you look at, we could go on. But yeah, it's like it's just amazing, like the math I have to run for small business owners. They're like, oh, well, that's going to cost me $50 a lead. After we're like, yeah, but you're missing we're going to get so many impressions, like so many awareness and consideration. I was like, I'm just showing you the math based on all the data that exists out there, I can project down to how many form fills and how many phone calls this media mix is going to help you.
Right.
And they're like, that's $50. That seems, I can't afford that. And I'm like, but if we get this many and you close 20%, let's just, you don't even know what your close rate is, but let's just take an average in your industry.
Right.
Let's hope it's 20%. Because if it's, because I'm sure you've heard this. People are like, oh, no, it's 80%. And it's like, no, it's not. Because your salespeople are only putting in what they want you to see. It's probably really like 20 or 30%. Or we get it and it's like, crap, you're like 8%. You got other issues in your business.
Right.
That if you're at an 8% close rate, I think we need to turn off advertising at the moment. We need to reinvest your time, money, and energy into a sales enablement program. And maybe you need to clear some house here because your processes suck. Or your messages suck.
That's right.
Something is not working here. The advertising is working, but you're like, this isn't working. And I don't think people look at marketing and advertising in that like we do, but it's amazing how a lot of small businesses, and when I think of small, like we're working with small businesses that they're not small businesses, they're mid-sized. They're 2,000 employees. They're, North American with 20, 30 locations across the country. I mean, but they're still in this small mindset.
Yes, absolutely. It's like the business grew despite them.
The business grew
You know?
because it was the category grew, and you
Yes.
probably see that. Well, I
All
didn't
the
need
time.
marketing. I just would just hire salespeople, but now I've hit a plateau, and it's like, yeah, you just grew because there was nobody else there.
Right.
Now there's other people there. You've got to the point where you're paying more in sales bodies, and it's like, look at it from a holistic framework.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
your entire budget. And yeah, so like we have to reteach, like you said. We have to get people to kind of
Absolutely.
break out of that mindset and go, now let's just
I'm smiling ear to ear here because you're singing to the choir. I hear this stuff every day. And it's just like,
it's like, and I'm the agency that's like,
I know.
we can be that part, like, but we have
Exactly.
to do it too of
Right.
getting them. But it's disheartening because it wasn't like that 15 years ago and 20 years
Yes.
ago in the agency space.
Yes.
And now it's just, but the last 5 years have been really hard because of that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there are a lot of small businesses out there, and part of what I see too is people being enabled to be a small business owner, even though they have no business being a small business owner. That's with all due respect to all of you out there listening to this right now. It's business, this thing we call business is simple, but it's not easy. And there are a lot out there that really need to go back to the drawing board and learn. The entrepreneur of 20 years ago might have been a little bit more tooled up here than the entrepreneur of today, who just thinks that they're going to just light up AI. I'm just going to use that and I'm going to make $20 million a year. You might get lucky to catch a trend like the YouTubers did.
Right.
They caught a trend and great, but that's not the norm.
No, that's like the 1 to 2. We call the 3% unicorns.
Yeah,
Like that,
absolutely.
That's not the rest of us 97%ers out here.
That's right. That's right. And that's, it's unfortunate, but it's fortunate because I think that, even just speaking for myself, the joy has been all in the journey. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm at this stage in my life, I see that clearer now than ever.
Yeah.
Where I had my sights set on crazy things when I was younger, but then you hit those things and you're like, what's next?
That's right.
What else? Until you understand that journey and going through everything you go through, it's part of what makes you who you are. And how you show up for others and how others respond to you. And it's so empowering and powerful at the same time. And if I can inspire any entrepreneur out there with that little statement, go for it. Figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
And don't get caught up in the bright, shiny object syndrome, especially with things like AI coming on the scene right now. Now, AI is a game changer. I liken it to even more powerful than how the internet was when that came in.
Yeah.
The internet changed the game.
That's right.
One quick thing for you.
Yeah.
Do you know that I was laughed at 20 years ago when I started Online Marketing Muscle?
Really?
Oh, why are you going to start an online marketing company? It's such a fad. The internet's not going to be here. And I got laughed at.
Oh my
People made fun of me I thought you were smart. Don't you have a master's degree? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Are you on drugs? Do you need, you need therapy?
Yeah.
No, I saw where the things were going.
You did.
But I try to marry real old school principles. And that's why I studied with guys like Jay Abraham.
Yeah.
To get those old school principles and bring it into the modern day with the modern tool.
That's right.
And then you have a real good result,
It is, I'm going to date myself too. So you'll appreciate this. I was one of the first digital media buyers in the country. And
Nice.
Went
Nice.
to, if you remember this conference, it was held maybe like 3 years, maybe 4, I don't even think, but it started in like 98, 99,
Right.
but it was Internet World out of
Yes.
Chicago.
Oh my goodness.
And I would attend those, and it was like I think the first time it was only like 10 or 15 of us that were actually buying media, like on the
Right.
weather channel, the weather.com, and HGTV had just come out, or ESPN.com. Everyone was getting kind of the ad inventory on their websites. And, I think the only ad networks that existed were 24/7 and DoubleClick.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And I sat on for 3 years on a committee that ended up being the Internet Advertising Bureau for setting the standards.
Wow.
The IAB of because it was the wild, wild west of okay, what you got? Where
was
can
insanity.
we go? But yeah, it was for our clients. I was, and I worked not at one of the Madison Avenue agent. I was a small regional agency, but we had some significant clients. But the big agencies weren't buying online. They were still very heavy, buying 90% of their stuff in the upfronts of their media buys. Digital wasn't included. So it was for us to get big recognition in these brand alignments, we went digital first, a lot of our clients. And but yeah, it was when I think back to those days, just the art of planning and the science of planning really hasn't changed. It's just the tools have gotten to be able to buy programmatically and to have the supply side and the demand side all kind of work in this incredible real-time engine. But it's still just the data is still there and the planning is still, you just got to know what you're looking for. And
there, ding, ding, ding. Yeah. I think you just hit it on the nose right there, because there is an art and a science to it.
That's right.
Now, when you were first doing this, going back a while,
I was using
it was an art and a science, and you had to know a lot in order to be able to navigate that.
My gosh.
Now, somewhat the tools have made us lazy.
Right.
Where
People
the tools are giving us some of that.
They don't understand terms. They don't understand
That's right.
why is this happening? And so then what does this result in?
Right.
Which is, I think, then the phrase of the vanity metrics, because it's easy to pull, and it's well, that's junk, because that's not telling you anything.
Exactly.
So yeah, but it was interesting. People would go to our agency and go, why are you sending your media director to Internet World and stuff? Because our agency grew exponentially, because we we really hit the .com, but these were big brands that were trying to develop. I mean, this phrase didn't even exist then, but really trying to create their own DTC versus being reliant on the retailers.
Right.
But yeah, that was. But that agency survived the .com because it wasn't 100% online. It was It was real manufacturers.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that was but I would never take that experience. I had somebody, I don't know, a junior person ask me who really wanted to get into media buy, how do I do Facebook ads better? And I'm, how do you know which is good and bad? I'm oh my gosh, how am I going to cram 30 years of media planning, into how to analyze? So I kind of did it in a shortcut, and they were I just, you mean there's more than just Facebook ad tactics and digital? I mean, the fact that people don't even realize that there's 1,000 different tactics just in digital.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
And the problem with a lot of entrepreneurs is we think we know more than we do.
Yeah.
And that is where a lot of the painful lessons come from.
Yeah.
And that's
be open.
Absolutely. The eyes have to be open, the ears have to be open. And that's, why I'll always say to people, everybody needs a coach. Everybody should be working with somebody who's been there, done that. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, there's somebody who's been there and done that already. And tying that into agencies, why do you hire an agency for? You hire that agency because they've been there and done that. It saves us the time of having to try and figure it all out. And that was a big, hard lesson for me, was the fact that I didn't have to figure it all out myself.
It's I just love how our lives, our past have kind of intertwined of, I come from the agency side, you came from corporate, but the whole online, being at the beginning, what value, I mean, would you give up that value of having that experience in your...
Never.
Yeah.
To me, it was it was amazing to watch those two worlds collide, them come together, and being part of that was so instrumental and so powerful to be able to bridge that gap between the offline world and the online world. And there were very few agencies back then that could bridge that.
Right.
And we saw a lot of agencies flat out go away. They became extinct quickly because they couldn't adapt. And then came a new breed of agencies that were thinking too far out there. And they were, we saw a lot with the .com burst and all of that stuff. We saw problems there too. But when somebody can bring, as I've heard you say, the art and the science.
That's right.
And carry that art and science from what they knew from the offline world and bring that into this new space. How do I navigate this now?
Right.
Well, you navigate it by still using the same principles, the same values, the same everything, right? There's no shortcut
Right.
to success there. There really isn't.
You
And
still
you
have
have
to
to
think.
be willing to.
You have to do the heavy. I call it the brain sweat. You've got to do it.
That's right. And it's the bad part about it is there's a lot of people out there, a lot of charlatans telling you that you don't need that.
Right.
Oh, you don't.
Or just do SEO, and it's like
Yeah,
your
just do
problem
that and
isn't SEO.
yeah.
Like your problem is something else.
Yeah. And where's their business right now? How are they doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? And misery loves company. And as a coach, that's something I say all the time to people because they're always telling me about, well, my cousin's nephew said that I need to do this.
Right.
Really? Does your cousin's nephew run a multi-million-dollar business? Because that's what you're trying to do here.
Right.
You know, what's going on with that? So it is about trying to bridge that gap, bring that reality in, and help them understand that we do need to remember those values and those strengths of what made a great agency a great agency.
Yes.
If you can bring that in to your small business and bring those principles, those values, those ideas, that creativity, more power to you. And just to say something I said earlier, it doesn't matter how much you spend, it matters how much it makes you.
That's right.
And you could waste a lot of money trying to do it all on your own, trying to figure it out. I did that. It doesn't work very well.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Now, where you mentioned and you asked things like, what would I do differently? That's one thing I would do differently. I would not try and do it all myself like I did in the early days.
Yeah.
I don't regret it because it allowed me to know as much as I know now.
It was a lesson. Well, it
Yes.
paved a way for you to then become a coach.
That's right. But that's decades of pain. And for most of you who don't want to be a coach, you don't go through the pain.
You just want to grow the business.
That's
Then
right.
Outsource.
That's right. Know what you want and then go find the best person money could afford plus a little bit more.
Right.
And get that person to do it for you.
Yeah.
And they'll help you get wherever you're trying to go much further, much quicker.
Yeah.
And that's what we want ultimately in our businesses to get where we want to go further quicker.
That's right.
We want a cool journey, but we don't want that much pain. At least I hope you don't.
No, that's right. We were like, that's how we come in. We're like, where's your friction? Like,
Yes.
Where's the rub?
Love it.
And it's like, let's figure out where that pain point is. Because a lot of people, a lot of businesses come to us and what they identify as their friction ends up not being. It's actually indicative of something completely different. But it's like,
Yes.
And I think this is where, and you'd probably agree, if you're a small business or, a mid-size, trying to be getting to be a blue chip, nobody has unlimited funds. Nobody has unlimited
Correct.
resources. Nobody has unlimited energy.
Correct.
So figure, having somebody that, as like said, like for our team to come in and figure out where that friction is. We're the outsider, but we know what we're looking for. We know
That's right.
how to kind of and uncover those things to go. You don't have an advertising problem, you've got a branding problem. Or you don't have a branding problem, you have a marketing organization problem. Like
That's
you
right.
You got some shit you gotta fix. Don't spend this money because you gotta reallocate it to either rehire your team, you got to do training, or we've got to rebuild kind of the infrastructure, your foundational elements, so that when you are ready to go and put yourself out there, now you're going to get the leads.
That's right.
And you're going to close them faster. And
That's
you're
right.
You're going to scale easier.
That's right.
Versus pushing that wagon wheel uphill.
Right. And that's the power of a trained eye.
Yeah.
You know, with the experience that you have with all these years, you've got a trained eye at this point.
That's right.
And you know what you're looking for. And most people who don't do this every day and haven't done it for the last couple of decades, they don't have that eye.
No.
I don't care how cool and smart they think they are. That was a hard lesson I learned. Don't make that mistake, folks.
That's right.
You know, look for that person who's best suited to help you get what you want to get. Right? Because ultimately it ends up being cheaper, a hell of a lot cheaper than the lessons and the pain you're going to learn.
And the pain. That's right.
Yeah. That's right.
Pain. It's so
That's
painful.
right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're out of time. I love this conversation. Like we could go on. We could go on.
Clearly, yes.
And on marketing especially. But I love this. I enjoyed the conversation. I loved getting to know you.
Likewise.
Hopefully, since now I know you're in my backyard, we'll have to go and treat
Definitely.
ourselves somewhere.
Yeah.
But before we go, so how do you want people to connect with you? Where can they get a hold of you? Like, what's all your stuff?
The best place would be to go to my own website, deanmercado.com. From there, you'll find everything. You can find my agency. You can find the things that we do. You can find all our social channels and all of that stuff. That's the easiest. It's deanmercado.com. You know, and check it out. Look at it. Check out the book.
Yeah.
The book, even though it's 12 years ago, don't get me wrong, that thing is as true today as it was 12 years ago.
That's right.
You know, so check it out. Good stuff.
We'll put all the links when we launch this episode. And so thank you to all of our listeners for hanging with us and joining us today. This podcast episode will be available on all your podcast platforms, just your favorite. So subscribe to Hello Chaos and give us a like, a comment, or a share. Help us grow a more connected entrepreneurial community. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That is Orange Whip, WIP for Work in Progress. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We're in 3 South Carolina cities today, looking to expand in other cities across the U.S. Every city needs an Orange Whip. Just an email to join our community. It is a one-stop content hub just for founders in an innovative digital zine experience. We have local curated calendars. We have local dynamic roadmaps to help you navigate the entrepreneurial community in that local market. So every city needs to have an Orange Whip. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us, send an email to hello@orangewhip.com. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to Hello Chaos. It is where aha meets oh shit, and we'll see you again next week.